Nigerians, it will shock you the level of fraud committed by Inec in this presidential election. Just take a look at this.
The level of complaint that some of us have seen, and I'm not a candidate. On the right-hand side, you see a polling agent result from Rivers State. APC has 12 votes. The word is there in 12. Labour Party has 588. The words are there. On the left-hand side, posted on INEC IREF, they've changed Labour Party from 588 to 0 to 00 and increased the APC from 12. The word 12 is still there on the left, but the figure has jumped up to 170. Is this how they finished up having the highest number of votes in Rivers State? If you make this kind of adjustment, perhaps they didn't even get 25%, because you have jumped from 12 to 170. Why reducing the other guy from 588 to 0?
Well, on that note,
these are serious things that have to be investigated.
Right. Well,
no wonder the INEC chairman hurriedly declared Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president-elect, because they thought, as usual, Nigerians will accept the results, and move on. But I tell you, the opposite has happened. Nigerians have gone, to dig deep into what actually happened during this election, and you can see that INEC has shut down its portal. You cannot access most of the results again, because they now know that they are being exposed. So guys, in today's video we'll be looking at this analysis by Peter Obi's supporter. You can see him. He's a very strong supporter to Mr. Peter Obi, and he said it openly that he was going to vote for Mr. Peter Obi. And most of the results came as a shock to many Nigerians, because we know how the Nigerian youths were overwhelmingly behind Mr. Peter Obi. So guys, let me just allow you watch this video. Just take your time, digest this video, and drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell. Please give this video a like so that YouTube can recommend it to others, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you.
To have peaked at the weekend, with supplementary ballots taking place across the country. But the story is far from over, and the post-mortem continues. The reason is starkly clear. It's an election that rained on the parade of the main opposition PDP and broke the hearts of Labour supporters after the ruling APC, according to official results, achieved success against which the opposition has cried foul, insisting they were beaten with a trick of the tail. But the APC have hit back, insisting that they won with tactical pragmatism against a divided opposition, and not by the manipulation and the compromise that is alleged to have taken place. And now the saga is getting ready to enter the mouth-watering phase of a bullish court battle, around which the contending parties have built uber squads of absolutely peerless lawyers with consummate reputations of dismantling opponents and a history of winning coveted legal silverware. In the meantime, ahead of the start of those proceedings, the post-mortem continues. And one of those who's been rather immersed in that post-mortem evaluation is the president and founder of ANAP Foundation, Tedo Peterside CON, who's also founder of Stanbic IBTC Bank. And Mr. Peterside joins me now from our studios in London. Always a great delight to see you, Mr. Peterside. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Let's get straight to it. Let's start with your ANAP NOI polls and how they measured up to these general elections, because you started it all rather controversially when you released the first presidential opinion poll in September last year, with the headline that read "A three-horse presidential race and a lone outsider," and that's a direct quote. So now that you're doing the post-mortem, not just for the presidential, but also for the governorship elections, around which you also published opinion polls, can you paint a picture for us of your best assessment of those elections?
Thank you, Charles. I think, let me start with the governorship, because you mentioned opinion polls. Yes, we did opinion polls for the governorship. They were They were announced on Channels TV Live. I think you have a figure 1 that shows the 5 states where if you can show this slide in the figure 1 with the 5 states where we did the polls for governorship. Yes, they were in Abia, Kano, Kwara, Rivers, and Lagos. We did the first round of polls in November, first week of November, and all the people that we said were in front, all the 5 names are there, from Alex Oti down to Governor Sanwo-Olu, finished up being declared winners. We did a second round of polls for Rivers State and Lagos, and still came up with those people being ahead. But later on, we can go into controversies regarding how the elections were conducted in each of the states and things like that. But let's go to figure 2, which attempts to show that although we had governorship elections in multiple states, they actually conducted them in a different way. What this figure shows is that 24 hours after the elections, an app foundation went onto the Inec IREV to see which of the governorship elections already had almost all the polling unit results up. And I must commend some states like Oyo, Ogun, Nasarawa. You can see that about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 states had over 90% of their results up. So meanwhile, some other states were operating a different system. They were holding back results. So at the bottom, you see people like Kano, Taraba, Rivers that were holding back results and only published 75%. Now, if everybody had published 100% almost immediately, there would be no controversy. Same for the presidency. So let's go over to the presidency, figure 3. This is your post-mortem. Figure 3 for the presidency shows, if you can show figure 3 here, that just shows because we always did results by zones. We made predictions by zones. And almost all the predictions in the Northeast, APC and PDP. PDP had the most votes in line with our predictions. Northwest, PDP and APC. Southeast, Labour Party, South, Labour Party. But the figures in red are the ones that are a little bit worthy of comment. So everything else was in line with our predictions. The one in the red under North Central, you can see Labour Party finished up getting fewer votes in the North Central than APC, which is what our polls indicated. And then for the Southeast and South, yes, Labour Party got the highest votes as our polls predicted. But the figures in red at the bottom tell a story that total number of votes was very low in those 2 zones. And that makes a difference. And then finally in the Southwest, the figure in red, Labour Party, our polls showed they would come in second in the Southwest. They finished up coming third. But we can come to the sort of controversy surrounding results in Lagos and so on later. So, then if you go to figure 4, which shows the results of all the states. The print is tiny, but that just lists all the states and lists all the votes gotten by the top four candidates. And on the extreme right, we introduced something which was the percentage turnout in each state. The figures are small, you cannot see them well, but they range from something like 39% and come all the way down to as low as 15%. But the important thing to note is that on the right-hand side, we pointed out that APC, according to INEC results, got between 25% and 29.9% in 8 states. It's important to bear that in mind because those are 8 states which they just crossed the 25%. So you also have to look at what happened in those states. Let's go on to the next slide. Figure 5. Yeah. You see, when I talked about voter turnout earlier, this chart was prepared by IAGA, who are an NGO monitoring the elections. You can see that on the morning of the elections, they are showing the percentage of showing how much INEC was ready had arrived in a geopolitical zone, you can see that the averages are very different. 40% Inec was ready in the northeast, then 37% in the northwest, all the way down to the southeast, only 7%. So it was not a uniform pattern of arrival nationwide. Southeast was lagging behind with no materials. Also lagging behind was south-south. It's only 15%. Let's go to the next slide, figure 6. Yeah, this shows you that by 9:30 a.m., the average nationwide was that Inec was ready in 44% of the polling units, but that's a national average. Very high in the south, where 67% were ready, the polling units. Again, southeast was kept down at 11%. So Inec did not turn up. Followed by south, also at the lower end, 32%. Now, all things being equal, if Inec arrives late somewhere, but people still get a chance to vote, then the figures you look at in terms of the percentage turnout will reassure you that it didn't make a difference. So let's go to figure 7. That shows, again, the percentage turnout. Figure 7, please. The figures are small, but on the extreme right, this time we've arranged the states based on the percentage turnout, with the highest on top, Jigawa, 39% got to vote, followed by Plateau, 39.01 got to vote. If you come all the way to the bottom, sorry, but I'm from Rivers State, we were the worst. At the very last, Rivers State, only 14.8% got to vote. So you can see that I drew a line somewhere which was just 25%. And you can see that all the states from the southeast and south-south were below that 25% line. So therefore, it looks as if the late commencement by Inec impacted the turnout.
Well, actually, it's very interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting what you've shown us. I mean, that was very comprehensive, and obviously, I mean, you have a foundation that crunches these numbers and analyzes these things, which is very helpful as a way of educating the public. But it sounds as though, Mr. Peterside, you're suggesting that there is some significance to the fact that the presidential election started at various times in different geopolitical zones. If so, what is the significance?
You know, our presidential system is different from the American ones. We copied their system, but we didn't copy it 100%. In America, they have electoral colleges. So in California, they only have so many seats. You have so many in New York. Even if you have a low turnout, high turnout, the impact overall nationwide does not change. In Nigeria, we are counting total number of votes. So when people start voting early in some zones, and they are racking in more and more votes, and we know that the 4 top candidates are from 4 different geopolitical zones. You saw from that chart that some of them were lucky in their home zone. Inec had turned up over 60%. The other person in his own home zone, Inec did not show. So the result is that the total number of votes in those zones where Inec turned up late finished up being much lower, and that's why you see states from those zones at the bottom. And like I said earlier, the worst of all being Rivers State. So if the candidate is strong in those states in the southeast or south-south, they get handicapped because voting there began late and with a low overall turnout. Conversely, if a candidate is lucky in his own zone, is from the northeast, he started voting very early, his people get a chance to come out in large numbers and vote. I'm just reading the data released by an NGO on the impact of voter turnout, and then looking eventually at when did INEC start, and you can see the correlation. Where INEC began early, there was a higher voter turnout. When INEC began very late, people waited in the sun. Sometimes Bvas failed, all manners of stories. Some were even told you vote the following day. And the later on they said, no, sorry, it's too late, it's over. So it impacts on the overall election because different candidates are strong in different zones.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I know, for example, that there were a lot of promises made by the INEC chairman, pledges to Nigerians on how the elections will be handled this time and how the results will be uploaded. And I know a lot of that was affected by the way people reacted, because they based a lot of what their hopes and sort of expectations based on that clip. Unfortunately, that clip is not actually ready at the moment, but we'll play it if it comes up in a minute. But you seem to be suggesting in one of your graphics there that we just saw that. Actually, I'm not sure we've seen it, but you were suggesting something along the lines of the falsification of results in Rivers State. I'm wondering whether you see any pattern or similarity to what we saw at the weekend in Adamawa State. And I might be jumping the gun here because I'm not sure. I was looking at your figure 16, and I don't think we've actually seen that. But in any case, the impression we're getting is that you were commenting quite a lot on Rivers State, and I'm wondering whether you see a pattern or a similarity to what we saw at the weekend in Adamawa State there.
Let's be careful, because when you talk about similarity, I would say did INEC staff or the persons appear to have done the wrong thing. Some people say that there's no similarity because in the case of Adamawa, it was a case of the wrong person doing the wrong thing. Whereas in some other states in the presidential elections, it was the right persons doing the wrong thing. But please excuse me, should the right person or a wrong person do the wrong thing? Nobody should do the wrong thing. So as far as I'm concerned, wherever any member of INEC did something wrong, appears to have falsified results, changed the results, there's a name in the bottom corner. INEC as an institution and the federal government of Nigeria should be interested in getting those people to make a statement to the police. Let the person tell you that. Perhaps he will surprise you that when he gave in the result sheet, there was no alteration. They bring in forensic experts to go and check who altered the results. But we should be in the business of making sure that everything that was done is credible, not to just wrap complaints under the table, under the pretext that in some states the wrong thing was done by the right person, whereas in Adamawa the wrong thing was done by the wrong person.
But I mean, what do you make of what is happening in, just to bring it up to contemporary?
I lost sound.
Okay, you can't hear me. Okay, I think we've lost him there for a minute, but I was going to talk to him about Adamawa State, because that's obviously a very significant state, given what happened there at the weekend. I mean, trying to get a sense of whether or not he believes that what he makes of what is happening in Adamawa State, because I think that usually when there is suspicion of electoral malpractice, when it occurs from INEC, it is usually hidden. But in this case, we saw it happen live on camera. And I mean, there's been a lot of talk about whether it should attract, and I personally believe that it should, the harshest possible legal measures and absolutely non-partisan condemnation. And I wanted to know where Mr. Peter Side stands on that. And I think it was also the fact that it was an absolutely bold, almost impudent way that he did it that really got to a lot of people, that sort of very instant, very brassy defiance of it all. But I'm not sure whether Mr. Peter Said can hear me. Clearly he still can't, which is rather disappointing, because I also wanted to go from Adamawa State to the issue of the courts and prejudging the court cases that are coming up. I mean, without prejudging those court cases, what he hopes to achieve in the midst of all these allegations. I mean, what he's calling for the courts to actually do, again, without prejudging the case, although it hasn't actually started yet, but it is in the process of getting close to starting. And also, I wanted to get a sense of what he says to those who argue that there will always be, to a smaller or greater extent, irregularities, just as there have been in the past, and not just in Nigeria. So, you know, some people are saying, well, if there's going to be irregularities, as there have always been, I mean, we had some allegations of irregularities in 2019, we had them in 2015, we had them in 2011. You know, if there are going to be those allegations, then perhaps it should be in the interest of national reconciliation and nation building, getting on with the task of nation building. It should perhaps just be a case of accepting it and moving on. But I'm told that you can hear me now, and nod vigorously if you can, Mr. Peter Said.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
But I didn't get your last question.
No. I hadn't asked you the question yet. I was simply trailing because we were trying to re-establish your connection there. Now, I think the last question, you answered that to some extent, that what we saw as similarities between Adamawa State and Rivers State. But I wanted to push you a bit on what you actually make of what is happening in Adamawa State, because a lot of people have said that the approach there should be absolutely non-partisan. It should attract the harshest possible legal measures. I think it was actually Professor Anthony Keeler who said that usually when malpractices occur from Inec, it's usually hidden, but it's the bold, almost impudent way that this took place that really got to a lot of people. And I wonder where you stand on that.
Yeah, have you been to the Inec IREV to see what happened in the presidential election in some states? There was impunity there, there's impunity here. Look, we have to get serious in this country. We have to tackle all issues of impunity. It's no use saying that you tackle it only in Adamawa State. What is the difference? I agree that in Adamawa was particularly embarrassing. But guess what? Perhaps they took a cue from those at the center who handled the presidential elections. And that was why the last interview I had with you, which was before the governorship elections, said the danger was that people are going to go out there and try all kinds of things. Don't you see that in some states they refuse to upload the results? Why would states be having elections in different manners? We have to go back and hold people accountable. If people falsified result sheets, their names are there, they should take statements. So everybody should be held accountable, not just Adamawa.
Right.
Well, across the board.
Right. Well, let me. So I apologize for interrupting you, but I'm aware that time is kind of galloping along. I mentioned the Inec chairman earlier making promises and pledges on how the elections will be handled and how results will be uploaded. And I know you've made some comments. You were just talking about that now. So let's just take a listen to what the Inec chairman actually said in the context of those promises that you're referring to.
Most Nigerians are more familiar with the bimodal voter accreditation system, the Bvas, which doubles as accreditation device as well as the upload of polling unit level result sheets on election day on or through the Inec result viewing portal, the IREV, in real time. These innovations have increased transparency and public confidence in the electoral process. They are also part of the legal requirements for conducting elections in Nigeria. The combination of Bvas and IREV portal have come to stay as a means of voter education and transmission of election results. Nothing will change that reality. Let me once again reassure Nigerians that there is no going back on the deployment of the bimodal voter accreditation system, Bvas, for voter accreditation. There is no going back on the transmission of results on the Inec result viewing portal.
Well, that's just a little snippet, and I wonder if you care to comment on that, Mr. Peterside.
Yes. In fact, when he made those promises, I also clapped for him. I also praised him. Wonderful innovations brought in that will help achieve transparency. Now, please put up figure 8, because there was also a press release by INEC. It's there on figure 8, where they gave the same assurances that all the results will be uploaded. If you put up figure 8, you will see that on the right, go to INEC IREV today. I went there today. On the right-hand side is an example of what they uploaded. What did they upload? Access denied. How can you promise to upload something for us to see each polling unit, and what you go and post there this morning, 7 weeks after the presidential election, is access denied? Go to figure 9. And this is not the only one. Please go to figure 9. So it's one thing to promise something, it's a different thing to do the opposite. You look at figure 9. On the left, what do we have? What they uploaded on INEC IREV. On the right is a copy, the blue copy from a polling agent, which has real results. You see Labour Party 137. On the left, everything was changed to 0. And there's no evidence of overvoting, because if you look at the number of voters, it is in line with what Bvas said. So why would you reduce all the votes to 0 and post on INEC IREV and tell us to accept it and go home? Go to figure 10. Again, you look at the polling result that should be showing in Lagos, Osaka, London. On the right is the results. You can see Labour Party 371 votes. You can see APC, all that. On the left, you see access denied. Why are you hiding these things from us? This is 7 weeks after. You said at the beginning there was a glitch. Is there still a glitch? And you still cannot post this result on INEC IREV. Go to figure 11. I can flood this place with examples. Go to figure 11. Look at figure 11 on the right hand side. If you don't believe me, I'll give you the polling unit number. Go there yourself. In Yobe 35 13 06 010. Look at the right hand side, what somebody posted on INEC IREV. That is an exam result sheet for algebra or maths or something. They just posted nonsense here and there. So instead of giving us 176,000 result sheets, they have thousands of rubbish posted up there. 7 weeks after a presidential election. Let's go to figure 12. You will find that all these polling units I'm giving you on figure 12, all those numbers, there's no result there.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Peterside. It's just that we're slowly running out of time, and I want to be able to, because we have to kind of move on to the other things on the program, but without prejudging the court cases that are coming up. I mean, given all these things that you're putting out, what are you calling for the courts to do?
You know, the beauty of it is that these are important innovations, Bvas, INEC IREV, and what they do is that they give us a huge body of evidence that we never had before. So before, the courts did not have this amount of evidence, nor did we. This time the evidence is there. INEC has the result sheets. They should post them on INEC IREV. so everybody can see them. Indeed, it's the winner of the election that should be particularly interested in saying, please post every single polling unit results. Let us tally them together and show you that I won. Why would he be hiding the results 7 weeks after the elections?
Well, in fairness to the person who won the election, I mean, there's no evidence that he's saying to INEC, hide the results. So that's not entirely fair.
Agree.
Yeah, there's no evidence that he's saying that.
I'm saying he should join us in the call.
Right. Okay, I see what you mean.
Everybody should join us in the call for transparency. Everybody. Sorry. Why would people who won or lost not want the real results to be published on INEC IREV as promised by the INEC chairman? If it's the person that won that should want it published the most to prove that everything was all right.
Yes, actually, I have to say that you have...
And if you go to figure 16...
Yeah, you have a point there. But very, very briefly, because we're out of time and we have to move on.
Go to figure 16, please. And I will end. I'm prepared to just sum up, show you an example. If you go to figure 16, on the right-hand side, you have it to show you the level of complaint that some of us have seen, and I'm not a candidate. On the right-hand side, you see a polling agent result from Rivers State. APC has 12 votes. The word is there in 12. Labour Party has 588. The words are there. On the left-hand side, posted on INEC IREV, they've changed Labour Party from 588 to 0, and increased the APC from 12. The word 12 is still there on the left, but the figure has jumped up to 170. Is this how they finished up having the highest number of votes in Rivers State? If you make this kind of adjustment, perhaps they didn't even get 25%. Because you have jumped from 12 to 170, why reducing the other guy from 588 to 0?
Well, on that note...
These are serious things that have to be investigated.
Right, well, that's why it's gone to the courts, and presumably the lawyers will be able to present whatever evidence they have to judges who most people believe will look at it dispassionately and make a decision. But I want...
INEC keeps embarrassing itself. INEC keeps letting the Nigerian people down. Look at what is happening in Adamawa now. It's just a reflection of a culture. Of a culture of lawlessness. People who know the right thing to do, but under the influence, clearly under the influence of one form of gratification or the other, and then they do the opposite thing, and then they tell the losing party to go to court. And this is just too embarrassing for INEC. That's the reason why it's making that statement. INEC is simply an embarrassment to itself. Under the principle of vicarious liability, for the purpose of emphasis, INEC is the one that is responsible. It cannot stand, definitely cannot stand. It contradicts Section 25 of the Electoral Act. It contradicts Section 60 of the Electoral Act. And Section 152 of the Electoral Act clearly delimits the functions of these persons, whether a returning officer, a presiding officer, or a resident electoral commissioner. And we see a resident electoral commissioner who deliberately, decidedly went and to subvert the electoral process, and then he's been invited to Abuja when he ought to have been arrested and put in handcuffs for trying to defeat Nigeria's democracy. That didn't happen because this is the culture INEC has established. INEC is criminal here.
People fought for, people gave their lives, for us to gain this democracy, and that is what INEC wants to destroy. These people intentionally rigged this election, and they keep telling people to go to court. It means that it is only our judiciary that will be deciding who governs us, who leads us. The people have no voice, as in Nigerian people have no voice to decide who becomes their leader. Everything must end in courts. That is what INEC is telling us. It has been there for long, and up to today, they don't want to change. INEC came up, using technology. INEC came up using technology to just deceive Nigerians. They tell us that with the technology that everything is going to go fine, that there won't be problem, there won't be any fraud, there won't be overvoting, people will not be allowed to vote, those that didn't register. If you don't have your voters cards, you won't register. There were so many things that INEC chairman came out to tell Nigerians, and above all, he told us that we are going to see results being uploaded from the polling units, you know, real time, you know, direct to the portal. I mean the INEC portal. INEC chairman made these promises on several notes to the Nigerian people, but that promise he never kept. So guys, that is where we are, and that is why Nigeria keeps suffering, because our politicians are not ready to let go power. They are not ready. They want to embrace power until they die, as in they don't want to leave that seat. But I tell you, that change has come. The youths have decided they won't sleep any longer. You know, we won't sleep any longer. We'll fight this to finish. We'll fight it to the end. And I tell you, upcoming elections are going to take the same shape, because the youths are going to be participating fully, as in maximally. We are going to be involved. It's no more a time that we sit down, cross our legs, and allow our politicians, you know, to keep ruining our country. They keep destroying Nigeria. Nigeria, you know, a place that once you have your money, you can buy your way through. You can imagine what happened in this election. Look at Rivers State results. Look at Premium Times have gone to dig deep. They've come out with shocking results, you know, that will tell you that elections were being rigged. These are the ones that people just investigated, not to talk of, you know, full-blown investigation on the INEC IREF. You will see that people will be shocked with the kind of results we are going to have. So guys, let's not get tired. Let's keep fighting this. We are going to win these politicians. We'll retire them, and Nigeria will be liberated again. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Turn on the notification bell. Please give this video a like so that YouTube can recommend it to others, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you.